You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. Welcome to the show. The interview subject I've got coming up for you. I didn't think I'd have a chance to chat to Corporate Death, aka Lencioni from the outfit Macabre. Wow, there you go. This is a band that I remember way back in the day, actually in the late 90s, reading about in Metal Maniacs, and I certainly checked their stuff out when their album Dharma was released in year 2000. Haven't heard a lot from them since. I know they've had plenty of copy out there, but their new album is the catalyst for this conversation. The name of the album, Carnival of Killers, and it's superb. It's great for all of the reasons that I talk about with Lance throughout this conversation. So let's get to it. Here he is, Lance Lencioni from the outfit Macabre. Hey Lance, it's Andrew Mackay-Smith calling for a chat. How you going?
Oh, good. How are you doing?
Mate, I'm doing very well. What's the day held for you thus far?
Well, it's a gloomy day here. It's getting really cold. It snowed the last couple of days. Not too much snow, but, it's starting to snow. Winter's coming here, and just a pretty gloomy, bad year.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And whereabouts in these states do you live?
Yeah.
Yeah, which territory? You're obviously in the northern part of the states, are you? If it's gloomy and snowy.
No, I'm in the Midwest. I'm like 20 minutes from the city of Chicago.
Well, Chicago's a tough town. Yeah, I've done some research on it, and a lot of violence, to be honest with you. That's certainly what's coming back about. There's certainly some neighbourhoods there that I think if you accidentally find yourself in them, you want to get out fairly quickly.
Well, I don't live in the city, so I live in the suburbs, but we'll see what happens in the future, the taxes and everything, and just it's getting ridiculous with everything, but yeah, I don't live in the super violent parts or anything like that, but I'm not too far away from it. All you got to do is take a 30-minute drive. So,
mate, you should migrate here. We'd love to have you here.
Oh, I'd love to go out there, except the only thing I'm worried about is those Sydney funnel webs and some of the crazy snakes you guys have out there, and the redbacks and stuff.
You're not wrong.
We don't get those out here.
You're not wrong. Look, most people who live in, say, the greater suburbs of Sydney or Melbourne probably take for granted that as soon as you get outside of those areas, so many of the animals here are just trying to kill you. That's if you cross their paths. Most of them keep to themselves. And the thing that is probably most threatening about Australia is the animals that are in the water. So in Queensland, where I live...
Well, it's the most venomous... poisonous, crazy, in the water, insects, everything out there. You guys are definitely the king of that.
Well, north of Bundaberg these days, I think if you go into the water, well, you don't. A lot of British tourists have been snorkeling and doing all sorts of stuff off yachts and the like in the Whitsundays. And when I say a lot, there's been 5 or 6 attacks, I think, in the last 12 months or so. That's shark attacks. So they're getting a little closer to home, and they're hitting tourist areas as well. So I'm sure the Tourism Bureau doesn't want me to talk about that. They got the taste of human blood, and they like it, just like Albert Fish. Albert Fish. It's interesting, and hopefully this will draw a laugh from you. So it's 7 o'clock over here, and I'm just getting the kids organised for school. And guess which song we just had on? It was "Them Dry Bones," and we were jigging along to it. It was our soundtrack to getting ready for school.
Oh wow, yeah, that's about Dr. Holmes, H.H. Holmes. Herman Mudgett, and we did one song about him in the past. And are you doing the interview now, recording it?
Yeah, go for it. The whole thing. Yeah, I host a podcast, I just put it all out there.
I don't know. I've done so many interviews lately; it's like a big blur to me. So I did like 4 yesterday, and 4 the day before. So it's like the interviews get to be a big blur after a while, but. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, that one is. I brought back an old song about Dr. Holmes, which I wrote that one a few years back, and it's. I didn't actually write it. It's actually a cover song That one. It's
Oh, really?
done done by the Delta Rhythm section. It's an old gospel song from the 50s, I believe, or 60s. I can't remember the year exactly, but if you look up the Delta Rhythm section, it's called Dry Bones.
Okay.
I kind of took that version and changed the lyrics to it and made it more metal. And but it's kind of an old like hit song, gospel song. If you ever seen the TV show The Munsters
Sure.
with Herman Munster, yeah, he actually became like a radio star with that song. This is back a long time ago in the 60s or whatever, and he was playing it on guitar, Herman Munster, and he became some like huge pop star with that song. But yeah, I kind of took the Delta Rhythm section song and I did it in my own way.
You have, and look, I've got to compliment you. Great work with Carnival of Killers too, by the way. Look, it's an album that for me brings me back a little bit, I've got to tell you, because the last time I got into the band was on Dharma, way back in year 2000. And what I love about the album is I get so much copy these days, and it just, it's so full on. And it's great musicianship. I think some of the songs are well crafted, but the sounds, man, they haven't quite managed to capture a lot of the sounds in a way that is musical and listenable. You've done that across Carnival of Killers.
Thank you.
So,
I mean, if you have the lyrics in front of you, which we probably don't yet, right?
no, not yet. No, I don't have much actually. I just got the the invitation for the interview.
I mean, you'll understand it a little bit more with the lyrics, but I always try to pronounce my lyrics even when I'm doing the heavy stuff, where you can kind of understand it, I've done like the Zodiac song in the past or whatever. It's like pretty growling where you might have to read along with it, but these days I try to pronounce everything pretty clear where people can understand it without the lyrics. But I really tried to do variety on this album. That was my main goal on this one, where I really tried to push the musical styles on this one, and I really focused on the vocal styles, trying to do a lot of different vocal styles on it, where it sounds like a bunch of different bands on there. If you played, okay, here's some songs for you, they wouldn't even think it's the same band on some songs, But I think it's our best album. It's my favorite one.
It's definitely up there.
We've had some good ones in the past and stuff, but this kind of shows the progression of Macabre to this time. And like I said, I really tried to push the vocals on this one and the musical styles.
I love how the music breathes, exactly to your point there, and I love the killer thrashy stomp that you imbue within them. That brings me to this point, which is the guitar playing is outstanding, because you've got some tasty solos and you've got heaps of great riffs. So do you create riffs in your mind, or do you noodle them on the guitar until you find something?
No, I pretty much create most of it in my mind. And like melodies and stuff like that, I guess I got some kind of a gift with that, where I can think of a melody and maybe some lyrics or something and just like figure it out on guitar pretty easy. I was always pretty good at like figuring out songs by ear on guitar, like Black Sabbath songs or whatever in the past. And this one is where it was but all the guitar solos on there were all improvised. I didn't have anything planned on it. I just kind of went in the studio and made them all up on the spot. And I've done that in the past too, where I can okay, I'm going to make these solos up and stuff, and then just figure them out later on guitar. And I kind of know what I'm doing on it. It's like where, okay, I know where I'm at here, but it might take me a little time to figure it out. But I did one solo on the album. It's called Breaking Point.
Okay. Yep.
And I just went in there and did it real quick. It was just like a quickie, and I used a Bic lighter for a cigarette lighter and my fingers on it. I didn't even use a pick on it.
I know so that song, I know that point.
Yeah, so there's no pick used on it. I mean, it might sound like a pick on points, but it's all fingers on that and the lighter. And I just made it up on the spot, just like all the other solos. But yeah, that's kind of how I do it. The music is, written from my head, a lot of it. But that's how I do a lot of stuff. Even in the past, I've done that.
Yeah, that song actually, I know it. You've jogged my memory because it sounds like as though you're playing slide guitar in a way.
Yeah, I used a big lighter on it. That's what I
Yeah.
used for a slide. I didn't use a slide, but back when I played when I was a teenager, someone showed me, yeah, you can use a lighter on this stuff. So I'm like, okay. And, the slide kind of hinders me a little bit more for having something on my finger, but I just kind of hold it in my hands. And I got like the song "Your Window Is Open," the first song.
Mm-hmm.
That's all fingers on the whole song. I didn't use a pick on it.
Great, great playing.
So
Guitar World
yeah,
should
I
get
just
could get in touch with you actually.
so I kind of try to recreate my style a little bit. I use a pick on most of the songs, but that one I use no pick on it, and it's just kind of a weird sweeping style with my fingers and stuff. Where I thought it sounded cool, so I said, okay, let's start doing more of this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Even
please
on
do
the
more.
solos, it was the solos on that song also were all fingers. I didn't use a pick on it.
Does it frustrate you somewhat that people overlook your guitar playing? Because it is, as I say, it's very tasty.
Um, I don't know. I guess we've never really gotten our name out there like we wanted to, and hopefully now we're with Nuclear Blast. Total Pros, they're a great label, probably the
Mm.
biggest metal label in the world. Great
Yep.
people to work with. They're going to get our stuff way out there, way more than in the past, and so more people are going to be able to hear it. I never really thought about it like that, where people overlooked it. I've had a lot of people say, "Yeah, I love your guitar playing, whatever." So I'm like, "Cool, I'm happy."
What's the strangest request you've had from a fan?
Um, I can't talk about that kind of stuff. Some girls have given me some strange requests, but no, I don't know. What do you mean, like a song or what?
Not necessarily. No, I mean, you are a band that is unique, if I can frame it that way. And I certainly
Well,
remember
I've
back
had
in. You're on.
well, I've had like people like say stupid stuff and crazy, like yeah, if I kill somebody, will you do a song about me? And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God, yeah.
no, I won't do something like that. I'm like, I told the guy, look, we don't condone these guys. In my music, when I write and stuff, if anything, I cut these guys down and say these are bad people. Sometimes I take it from first person perspective, where I am the killer singing the song, and it's like a narrative kind of thing. And most of the time, it's like a newspaper article where you would read it and it's all factual, all our music and all the lyrics. And I try to get it pretty exact, where I'm not making anything up on there. But if anything, I say these are bad people and watch out. It's kind of a warning to people. So I
Yeah.
never condone them in my music. It's not like we say, yeah, killers are good. Yeah, you should go out and be a killer or anything like that.
Mm. And have you ever been contacted by any of the families of the victims of serial killers that you've written about?
No, I guess I've seen a few like reviews or something where they say you're glorifying it and stuff, but like I just told you, it's like if anything, I'm cutting it down. This is history. This is the evil side of history.
Hmm.
There's a lot of evil people out there. And is this something that we should just sweep under the rug and never talk about and say, okay, I do it in an art form. My music is my palette. This is
Hmm.
how I work with it. And I call it creative storytelling, where I tell the stories about these guys. And I think I kind of brought back an old art form from the medieval times, where these guys would travel around as minstrels and tell poetry and do music and tell stories about these different killers before printing presses were invented. And I think I'm kind of bringing back an old art form where this is how the word spread back then. Okay, people didn't know there was no mass media or anything back then. So, yeah, I'm just bringing back an old art form pretty much.
What started your line of inquiry with this sort of stuff? Was it something was there a show or a movie, or was it, say, the Zodiac Killer back in the day that you're watching the way the news media was reporting on it and thought, wow, this is interesting?
Well, I'm a little bit older, so when I was in junior high, I was about 15. I did a book report on Bonnie and Clyde, the bank robbers.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of Bonnie and Clyde? I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe not.
Yeah, I'm 42, so yeah,
Okay.
I've definitely heard of them.
Yeah, they had movies about them and everything. So I was reading in this book called Blood Letters and Bad Men. It had gangsters and killers in there, and I just happened to stumble upon Ed Gein and Albert Fish in there and read about them. I'm like, how is this even possible? This old guy's out there eating little kids and making stews out of them, and Ed Gein digging up graves and making art out of their bodies and stuff for his house. And a few years later, I was playing music back then, but I wasn't like doing songs about him or anything. But then some years later, I said, wow, let's do a song about Ed Gein. And then, okay, let's do a song about Albert Fish. So I didn't do like all Killer songs or anything. But years later, the Macabre started. We didn't do 100% Killers.
Mm-hmm.
And on the first album, Grim Reality. But I did a big percentage, but we did a few other songs in there. And Gloom 2, our second album, where I sang about other topics. And then on Sinister Slaughter, I said, well, we should probably just go all serial killers. And that's all we write about, serial killers and mass murderers and stuff. And I figured no one's ever done that before. So I think we kind of invented writing about killers full time.
I think so. And it's interesting, I might be wrong, but I don't think you've been copied. You're it.
Well, I think we've been copied, but not to that extent, where people just do it for every song. And maybe I'm sure there's some bands out there that do that, and that's fine. If I inspired people to, go that direction and stuff, we called it murder metal on our one album.
Yes.
And I would more or less call it murder music, because I think I can go any direction I want to go with the music. And that's what I kind of tried to do on this new album. Mm-hmm. I wasn't trying to be too mellow with it or anything, but as long as I'm singing about the serial killers, we can go any direction we want to go with the vocals and music. Of course, I'm not going to do like a rap song or anything about that, like about a serial killer.
Please don't.
So, but we also did the Macabre Minstrels, an album. Have you heard that one? It was an EP we did.
I have, yeah. Well, I mean, I looked on Wikipedia, so I was familiar with your music, but not necessarily with the catalogue, but I saw that one there, yeah.
Yeah, the Macabre Minstrels was me and the bass player playing two folk guitars, trying to portray more of the minstrel singing. We did like some children's music on there. There was like from a Disney album I heard, and we sang about some killers too on there. Mm-hmm. So it was like a 5-song EP, and I'd like to bring that back. To like after this album, I'd like to work on this album we had. I started writing about 25, 30 years ago, actually, nice. And I have a lot of it written, a lot of songs. It's about Albert Fish. It's a life story of Albert Fish. It's kind of like children's music and all this seafaring music, like sailor kind of stuff, and it's called Fish Tales, and it's all like these really nice vocals and really sick lyrics, like about Albert Fish eating kids. And I'd like to add the drummer into it, where he's playing more traditional hand drums and stuff, like kind of like an Irish Rovers kind of sound, and some like a really old, really traditional sound in it. And I'd like to bring that back and eventually maybe tour with Macabre Minstrels opening up with a few other bands, and then we headline the tour where we could actually play like two different bands, with the same three guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all great stuff, and please do it if you've got the time. So the last album came out was what was the name of the last album? I can't remember, sorry, but it came out in 2000.
Grim Scary Tales?
There you go. Grim Scary Tales came out in 2011. So what have you been doing in the years between?
Just life gets tough as you get older, I mean, We could have probably came out with the album some years earlier, but we didn't have the right record offer, and it's like I had a lot of this stuff written and stuff, but even a lot of it I wrote at the last minute, like a lot of lyrical stuff. But it's life pretty much. It's like we're not like a band that just tours full time and okay, we tour 6 months out of the year or anything like that. But now, as I'm getting older, I think I want to start doing more music and stuff. And this is kind of the way we've always done it. But I never try to force myself and say I have to do an album every 3 years, or okay, we got to jump at the first record offer or anything like that. So this is just kind of the way we've always done it.
And is there any serial killer that, even for yourself, you've thought, I'm not going to go there?
Well, we have in the past. I don't know, the Columbine song, the school shooting. My bass player was like, I don't want to do that. I started writing a song about it, and like if anything, it's like cutting these guys down once again. But after some time, if you do something like that when it first comes out, it's probably not a good thing. Just like we did a song on our new album called Now It's Time to Pay. It's about Timothy McVeigh, where he blew up the federal building.
Yes. Yep.
If you, I don't know if you know all the stories on this.
I do. Stuff,
yeah.
But, no, I'm familiar with most of them actually. Yeah.
So that one we stayed away from it first. I started writing a song about it back when it, right after it happened and stuff, or when the trial was going on and stuff. But bass player was like, no, let's not do that now. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get in a big argument with you about this. You're censoring me, but yeah, you're probably right. And then years later, I came out with a song on this album. And like, if you read the lyrics to it, which when you get them, check it out. It's pretty much like, now it's time to pay, and, hell's waiting for you. And it's like pretty much saying the guy's in hell and stuff, like that. So it's like, if you read the lyrics, it's pretty much storytelling, and it doesn't condone any of these guys and say they're good.
For sure. Yeah. It's interesting. I have noticed that the mainstream media generally, of course they do with almost all heavy metal, but especially with you guys, they steer well away. But I do wonder if you were to write an album or even a couple of songs that were focused on, say, Jeffrey Epstein or Harvey Weinstein or even the Clintons, for example. I wonder if you'd attract their attention then.
I know about it all, but we don't sing about that. We're a different category. We don't get into politics. We just tell the stories about real serial killers and mass murderers from the past, and that doesn't really fit into that category.
For sure, mate. I'll make this my final question for you. Australia, have you been down? Have you been down here, and have you had a lot of feedback from us over the years?
We were there twice. We did 2 tours there. Second one was like even bigger. I think it was like 7 or 8 shows, but it's like, it's kind of rough, man. It's, you have to get on an airplane every morning and wake up pretty early after a show. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to stay up drinking all night. We have to wake up at, 6 a.m. in the morning, and they had gear rented for these different clubs where you can't carry gear. It's all airplanes and stuff, but people are outstanding in Australia. They're great people, and they're super polite and just really good people, like different than a lot of the USA states where people are kind of rude and stuff, and depends on where you go. There's nice people all over the USA, but, certain cities and stuff, people are like, they won't even say hi to you if you say hi to them. They just give you a dirty look. But no, it was great. We used, the album cover was done by my friend from Australia, which I met on tour. His name is Laz Guillen.
Okay.
And you can look him up on Facebook. He's a tattoo artist in Australia. And he can do any kind of art style. He can do like Leonardo da Vinci kind of art, and he's amazing. And I says, can you do this album with me? So me and him, I designed the album in my head, of course. I had it in my head what I wanted, and it was from an old Gacy painting I had. John Wayne Gacy used to paint some paintings for me when he was still alive. And I met Gacy 3 times in death row. I actually went there, and I have photos with me and Gacy, but I got the idea for this album cover from this one he did called Pogo Circus. Mm-hmm. It's the best Gacy painting in the world. It's him as a clown on a pogo stick, Pogo the Clown, with a circus background. So that's where the idea came from. But me and Laz Guillen worked on this for like 2 months over the smartphones, where he could create one killer at a time, and I could say, can you change this or change this? And we just went back and forth and created the album cover. And I think it came out really good.
It came out beautifully. Yeah, it truly did. It was going to be one of... So I just said my final question was the Australian thing, but no,
it's pretty colorful. It's pretty colorful. You won't see too many extreme metal bands doing colorful albums like that, I don't think.
No. If you take a cursory glance, i.e., you don't study the detail, it just looks like a circus picture or something advertising something for a circus. But when you start studying it, as my 7-year-old daughter just did before, and what'd she say? Why is that man killing that woman? So there you go.
Yeah, but we use all the killers from the album on the cover, and there's 2 on there, Andre Chikatilo. And we did 2 Ed Gein songs on the album, but one is a bonus track, and the Chikatilo song is also a bonus track. So we included him on the album cover, the Russian Killer. And, so it's all... I wanted to make it like, okay, we're not going to throw Dahmer in there. He's not on the album and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it worked out. And, I think it came out good. I think a lot of bands and stuff, this guy does commissioned works and everything from Australia. And I think a lot of bands, after seeing this cover, he can do any style, should contact him or look him up on Facebook and see, his artwork. He's just amazing. He's my favorite artist, and I want to use him in the future for all our albums.
Fantastic. Yeah, please do so. Yeah, great partnership you've got there. And Lance, I'll leave it there. Thanks so much for the conversation.
Okay.
Long may you prosper and continue to create stunning music, and good luck with everything.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No worries, mate. All the best. Thanks
okay.
again.
Good day.
Thanks. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. That conversation featured Lance Lencioni from the outfit Macabre. Thanks for listening.